Strap in, buckle up, and get ready to lay it on the line. This is Not Speeding, Just Qualifying, a podcast that's just as fast as it sounds. What's good, family? Welcome to a special episode of the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast. I'm David Lawrence, and yes, you can see me for a change this time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Definitely appreciate you guys rocking with me. Before we get started, just a reminder, make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube. Also, follow us on X, IG, and Blue Sky at the handle NSJQ podcast. All right? Perfect. All right, guys. So I'm coming to you guys in video today for a special edition. If you guys were on my personal channel last year, you guys know I did a few episodes and I did some predictions for IndyCar and Formula One. I decided to bring that back this year. Gonna do it under the podcast. Gonna do some special editions. But this season, I'm gonna do a few editions. And one of my editions is the NASCAR Cup Series. Yes, I have my magnificent seven predictions that I have for the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. I'm not going to delay it. We're going to jump right into it. Of course, this Sunday's the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. So, of course, first things first, I'll give you guys my pick for the race. And if you know me, this is going to sound like a broken record to you, but I do not care. Heads up. So, I'm picking the guy so for the Daytona 500, I'm picking the man who has been a runner-up twice in his 7 previous 500 appearances, finished 5th last year. He's usually pretty competitive in super speedway races. If he doesn't wreck, he's usually in contention. He usually starts strong. I'm recording this before qualifying of the 125, so if you do see this and then the qualifying results come out, don't shoot the messenger, please. But his last year he started 24th, his worst start in 7 500s. With all due respect to Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, and Kyle Larson, my pick for the 67th Daytona 500, the pride of Mobile, Alabama, Darrell Bubba Wallace, finally, after knocking on the door a few times, finally gets the Daytona 500 for him and will bring Michael Jordan to Daytona 500 victory lane. Boy, what a story that's going to be, especially with Anthony Mackie being the Grand Marshal for the Great American Race. You got a black man kicking it off, black man with a black owner winning it. It's in the stars, ain't it? So if you don't like that prediction, sorry, not sorry. Bubba Wallace wins the 67th Daytona 500. In my eyes, I just feel like this is the year for car 23, and the Golden Arch is running all the way to victory. Prediction number 2, and this may be low-hanging fruit, but I will give it a try. There are 2 rookies in this year's Cup Series running for Rookie of the Year. Let me go ahead and put that and clarify it. There's Riley Herbst, who is teaming up with Bubba and Tyler Reddick at 2311. And then there is Shane Van Gisbergen. The former Supercars champion has been all the rage in NASCAR since he won in Chicago in 2023. Came back, won 3 Xfinity races on road courses a year ago, and almost made it to the round of 8 in the Xfinity playoffs, but Sam Mayer put a stop to those plans. But with that being said, SVG's making the move up to Cup, and I think he will be in the playoffs again. Prediction number 2, SVG gets a win and will be in the playoffs. Yes, there are 6 road courses again in Cup Series. There are 5 in the regular season. I definitely see SVG with Trackhouse's resources definitely getting to victory lane before September. With that being said, I say there's 2 places SVG will probably get his win. Shocker, they will be when the series turns left and right. The first race I say he might win is the first ever race in Mexico City. It's going to be a challenge for everybody with that high altitude. Just a heads up, NASCAR hasn't raced this high in quite a long time, and Mexico City is about as high, if not higher, than Denver, Colorado, where Furniture Row Motorsports, former series champions, were once based out of. Not many know much about the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City as far as the Cup Series goes, and I think that will be a very big opportunity for someone like SVG, especially the last time we went to a road or street course that no one knew at all, and SGG showed up then. I know, a little bit of a different sample, but I still think it's a good one nonetheless. Speaking of Chicago, that's the other place I could see Shane get his pre-playoff win. 2023 winner was running well in Chicago last year until he was taken out late in the going, but I think those will be the two places where you can see Shane likely get his win in the regular season. And I even have this asterisk: don't count SVG out on short tracks and super speedways. He did look pretty good there in 2024. He led at Talladega, led at Daytona, and if the Clash is anything to go off of, probably not. Too short a track, but flat short track might be a pretty good place. So maybe Shane will do some pretty good stuff in Martinsville. He did do pretty decent in Xfinity there last year. From Trackhouse, let's transition over in the Chevrolet camp to Spire Motorsports. No one has been putting more money into Cup the last few years than Spire Motorsports. Dan Tauris, who now is the focal point of Andretti Global, he is the driving force behind Cadillac's Formula One team. He and his investors have put a lot of money into Spire Motorsports the last couple of years. And this is, I think, the season it bears fruit. Prediction number 3, Spire Motorsports will be a playoff team in 2025. Why? Consider these factors. Number 1, Michael McDowell and Travis Peterson, who were a victorious duo over at Front Row, reuniting together. Factor number 2, Justin Haley now has the wizardry of Rodney Childers atop the pit stand for 2025 as he returns to Spire. And then, of course, number 3, Carson Hocevar, who continues to show he has Cup talent with top 10s coming back and forth, left and right last year. Surely, year 2 will be nothing but an improvement with him and Luke Lambert. McDowell is awesome on the super speedways on the road courses with Travis Peterson. Yes, they may be changing manufacturers, but I do not see that being an issue. And I mentioned how well Hocevar ran in 2024. There is no reason to think he won't spurn a surprise. Now, how many Spire cars will be in the playoffs? I'm not sure, but I will say at least one of those 3 Spire Chevys will make the 16-man postseason come September when we head to Darlington. Next up, speaking of that 16-man playoff field, there was one notable absence from that field in 2024, and that was Las Vegas, Nevada's Kyle Busch. For the first time in his Cup career, his 20-season Cup career, Kyle Busch did not find victory lane. That will not be the case in 2025. Prediction number 4, Kyle Busch will return to victory lane. Yes, I know, it's low-hanging fruit, but you don't go 19 consecutive seasons with a win just getting lucky. And yes, as Lewis Hamilton was proof, as Michael Schumacher was proof in his return to the sport in 2010, even the greats have their off seasons. And I'm pretty sure that 3-win 2023 season was no flash in the pan. Randall Burnett's a proven winning crew chief. He proved it with Tyler Reddick. He's got 6 wins between 22 and 23 between him and Busch, between Busch and Reddick, I should say. So don't tell me Randall Burnett and Kyle Busch have just all of a sudden, out of the blue, forgotten how to win. I don't know if it'll be the Daytona 500. for my prediction's sake, I hope not. But I do feel at some point this season that number 8, Rowdy, Randall, and that crew will be back in victory lane. They'll take a checker flag. They'll easily be in the postseason again. Prediction number 5. In this one, I really had to look up, and I know you guys are going to be like, wait a minute, what? But hear me out on this. Chase Elliott will win his first crown jewel in 2025. Hard to believe it, guys, but I looked it up. 19 career cup wins, cup championship in 2020. 7 of those wins were on road courses, but none of them have been one of the big 4, which is the Daytona 500, the Coke 600, the Southern 500, and the Brickyard 400. We saw Chase and Alan Gustafson get back to winning ways in 2024. They're already on winning ways, dominating the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray 2 weeks ago. You think those guys in that 9 camp with Jeff Gordon, Rick Hendrick, and everybody at Hendrick Motorsports not expecting them to do any less? I just feel Chase in 2025 is due for that mega win. And it's crazy to think that NASCAR's most popular driver is still yet to win one of the 4 biggest races on the calendar. Already a Cup champion. I think Alan's going to put a little bit more magic, and I think Chase is going to put a little bit more. I know they say every race is going to mean something. I just honestly think that they're going to put a little bit more extra oomph into the bigger races this year. So I think that 9 car, whether it be Charlotte, whether it be Darlington, whether it be Indy, I think that 9 car is going to find one of those crown jewels, head to victory lane this season. Prediction number 6. If you are not in the dark, NASCAR is doing a knockout bracket style in-season tournament for 2025. They're literally going to do it as head-to-head, 1 versus 32, 8 versus 9, 15 versus 16. You get the idea. So NASCAR is doing an in-season tournament, 5 weeks. The last man standing gets a cool $1 million check. And I say the man that's going to get this check is the man who stoked the idea of this tournament from its very beginning. And that would be one Denny Hamlin. I mentioned he's a big proponent of it. I just feel it for no other reason. Denny's going to take the $1 million because I feel he's going to be the only one that will take it more seriously than anybody else. I do feel that in the first race, or at least the first maybe 1 or 2 races of the in-season tournament, I feel the winner will automatically advance just because of their positioning and their seeding in the whole thing. But there's just that part of me that just feels like Denny's going to find a way to win. I know he hasn't found a way to win the championship yet, but with this kind of randomness, I think it's just going to be a case of he'll just find a way to get himself that $1 million check when we crown it at Indianapolis at the end of August. By the way, the in-season tournament's got some nice little tidbits. They start in Atlanta under the lights in June. Then they'll go to Chicago. They got Sonoma. And then the championship race will be at Indianapolis. And no, Dover, I did not forget you. You are the race in between Dover and Dover is the race, in between Sonoma and Indy. So that's the 5-race in-season tournament slate, and the in-season tournament will be broadcasted by TNT. So that's their slate of the schedule. Last but not least, prediction number 7. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of NASCAR's playoff postseason format, it is what we have. We're going to put 16 men in a blender, and by Phoenix, 1 will come out unscathed as your NASCAR Cup Series champion. And my pick to win the title this year, and I know this is going to be a low-hanging fruit, but I just feel like the way things have been going for this driver, I just feel like it just feels like things are due. So for that, your 2025 NASCAR Cup Series champion, in my eyes, Kyle Larson. I think Hendrick is due for a championship. They have not won a championship in the Gen 7 era, and I think it's about time we see a driver not out of Roger Penske's stables, and I say this with all the respect to the captain and his trio of Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, and Ryan Blaney. But I just feel like this is the season where that run of championships for Penske comes to an end. They've won the last 3. Hendrick won the last 2 before it. We know Roger and Rick Hendrick have the utmost respect for one another. 2 titans of the NASCAR garage. But we've seen, especially in the 2000s, you haven't seen this long a drought of championships since the early 2000s before Jimmy Johnson started dominating. Of course, they had that 5-year run from Wharton to Johnson, 01 to 06. But after that, you will be hard-pressed to find 4 years ago, and that just coincidentally was the last time Hendrick had a drought between Johnson's 7th title in 16 and then Chase Elliott's 2020 crown, which they then backed up with Larson. So I do feel, as much as Hendrick wins everywhere else in the playoffs, regular season, and I think they'll definitely be a threat in the in-season tournament if anyone cares for it like that, I do feel at some point Hendrick's gonna finally nail Phoenix down in November. We know they can, we know they've had the proof to do it in March. Well, I think this is the year Hendrick nails down Phoenix on the first Sunday in November, and I think Kyle Larson will be the man that brings the title back to Hendrick. So there you have it, guys. You'll see the list to my right on the screen. Those are my 7 predictions for this NASCAR Cup Series season. Or at least the ones I know I can easily call out. I know I have some low-hanging fruit. Maybe they aren't as low-hanging as you may think. But what do you guys think? Am I thinking largely? Am I crazy? What predictions do you guys have? Let me know. Drop it in the comments section below. Can't wait to hear them. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this special episode. This won't be the last. I have a few more prediction episodes, so you guys will see those puppies right here in the feed within the next couple of weeks as we get ready for a new racing season. As always, thank you guys so much. Remember to follow us on our socials. We are on X, IG, and Blue Sky. We are at the handle NSJQ Podcast. I'll be able to put it down here in the graphics. And then also join us, subscribe to us on YouTube, or if you have YouTube Music, subscribe to us there as well, just to make sure you got us in your ears each and every time we drop a new episode. And I'll even put the graphic with all of my social media handles, my personal handles, so you can see those. And if the graphics were too fast for you, I'll put the handles in the description box to this episode. We'll see you guys next time. I'm David Lawrence. Thanks again so much. I can't say that enough. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time, you're not living life to the fullest until you're going flat out. So long, everyone.